I just finished watching the inauguration and I took some notes. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me is when Joe Biden said democracy is fragile. And I agreed with him, especially because he specifically broke the democracy. First, him and people in the intelligence community blackmailed Donald Trump to control his political appointments, which means that he overthrew the last president. And now he just became president while committing election fraud, which means that he pushed for the censorship of me, who was his political opponent during a presidential campaign. And the reality is that if you are if you're an American, you don't believe that the political leaders have a choice, have the right to choose who runs for president and who doesn't, who can try to become a politician. You believe that the people do. That's what demos means. Demos, the part of democracy in Greek, that the word demos means people. So it's a government controlled by the people and not controlled by the politicians. So one thing that stuck out to me about the inauguration, it was super religious. Like the whole thing, it was like I went to a religious service, and I was thinking about it when Biden was swearing on the Bible. I was like, well, that would be kind of empty for me to swear on the Bible. It wouldn't mean anything. I'd probably just swear on the Constitution because for me, the Constitution is kind of like a holy document. That's like what it's all about, is the Constitution. And when you have trampled on the Constitution while you're on TV saying that you're so for the Constitution, I think that should concern everyone. All right, so unity is difficult when the last president was blackmailed. Yeah, and that's why when he kept talking about unity, I was like, well, that's great. How are we going to get to the point that we can have unity when you blackmailed the last president? How can we get to the point that we have unity when there was very clear election fraud? I don't know. So Biden mentioned St. Augustine, and he had a quote from St. Augustine. And I don't know if you guys know that much about St. Augustine, but St. Augustine wrote a book called City of God. And City of God was a book that was written in response to everyone criticizing the Roman Empire turning Christian, because there were all these people in Rome that believed that the reason that the Roman Empire was collapsing, and the reason the Western, I think it was after the Western Roman Empire had it already collapsed to the barbarians, or I don't know, but the Roman Empire was becoming super weak, and everyone was saying it's the Christians' fault. And then St. Augustine said, no, you guys are all concerned about earth, and you're concerned about earth, but God's concerned about heaven, and we should be concerned about heaven. And all I'm saying is that I feel like we're kind of at the point in our democracy, which we don't have democracy anymore. We can have a democracy again. We can restore a democracy, but I think we've reached the point in our democracy that we're kind of becoming like the Roman Empire, because our government has kind of turned into a non-democracy. And we've made really bad decisions. And in my opinion, the worst decision a person can ever make during a crisis like COVID-19, which is a science crisis, is picking a guy who's the oldest president of all time after we just had the oldest president of all time. We had Donald Trump, who was the oldest president that was ever elected. Now we have Joe Biden, who's the oldest president that was ever elected. And I'm just saying, at least Trump was a businessman. Biden's a lawyer. And so, I think that we should all be concerned about that, but there's nothing we can do about it. Hope won't solve the COVID-19 crisis. Talking about unity won't solve the crisis. A combination of brains and sacrifice will solve the crisis. I'm talking about sacrifice by individual Americans. I don't see it happening. I see sacrifice being done by a small amount of Americans, and I think the majority of Americans are not making real sacrifices. And that's the real problem, is we don't have a cohesive effort in stopping COVID-19. And I don't think we will, because we don't have a leader who really inspires people. And I know that Biden sure sounded like Obama. I'm sure Obama worked on his speech with him. But he's not Obama, and Obama has kind of been knocked down a little bit. Like he's not much of a leader anymore, like he used to be. Now we have Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris is a leader. Kamala Harris is the type of person that we should admire as Americans because, like she has what, no children or very few children. She came from kind of humble roots. She is, and she's like if there's anything I know is that Kamala Harris is American. Like when she finds out that what's her name, Pramila, is a foreign spy, you know what Kamala Harris thinks? Shit. Why did I tell her that? You know why? Because she is that American. She's loyal to the United States. She's definitely not sitting there going, okay, this is fine that this person's a foreign spy. She is someone that is fiercely protective of the United States. And the big problem is that she was on the Intelligence Committee, and the Intelligence Committee was involved with censoring a presidential candidate, me. They believe that they can create a dictatorship, which means that they can censor a person while he's running for president, and that should concern everyone. And that's why, no matter how American Kamala Harris is, she has screwed up. I believe that choosing the oldest president at a time like this was our end of Athens moment. That's when the Athenians had a democracy that led to the end of their country because so many people died, and Athens was overthrown by Sparta. And I think that we have reached the point that our country is screwed because Joe Biden's not going to be able to handle this response. Like I'm sure that when he was in Delaware, the reason he was crying is because his son, and I think I think he's probably very afraid of the situation he's in. But I don't think we need a crier in chief. I think we need a chief that is like me, that like it doesn't matter what you do to me, I won't cry. You know what I'll do? I'll freaking beat the shit out of you. I will step up to the challenge, and that's what Joe Biden's gonna have to do. But like I don't think that Joe Biden has the capability of stepping up to the challenge because he's so old, and he probably also doesn't have the intellect to do it. He is a lawyer. Yeah. The best part of the inauguration was the Harvard poet, the black girl from Harvard who was skinny black girl. That's how she described herself. And I don't think that Biden should have spoke before her because she kind of showed him up. She was a lot better speaker than him. She's like a female Barack Obama when she speaks. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. I believe that Justin Trudeau from Canada should be our president. That's my opinion. I've said it before. I thought that Canada and the United States should join and become one country. We should put the capital in Vancouver, and the Canadians should be able to run for political office in the United States. And I think that, in my opinion, Justin Trudeau should be the president. The Keystone Pipeline is not the problem. Like Joe Biden's about to shut down the Keystone Pipeline. The problem isn't the Keystone. Okay, a pipeline does not consume the oil. It does not burn the oil. You know what burns the oil? People. And there's nothing like a Democrat that drives a freaking Cadillac. Like an 80s Cadillac. I'm just saying, like, this is a very, very, very common thing. And so at some point, you're blaming the wrong person. You're blaming the pipeline for the oil. And I'm very for the Keystone Pipeline, but that's not why I think Justin Trudeau should be president. I think Justin Trudeau is a very capable person. I think he's very smart. I know you guys know that I made fun of him for wearing blackface more than once, and that's true. And I probably wasn't compassionate enough for his wife who got COVID-19. And my understanding is that she's actually completely fine now. But like, I think he should be president. I don't want to be president. Like I've said it a million times, I want to get this censorship off of me. Like I don't want to live in Washington, D.C. I want to live in California. I want to live in Santa Barbara. So if you guys decide that you're going to actually tell the truth and you're going to say that there was election fraud and that censoring a third party candidate is election fraud because it affects the entire election. It affects Donald Trump's ability to get votes when a liberal person is censored. It affects Joe Biden's ability to get votes when a person that's pro-gun gets censored. If we all admit that and we decide that there's going to be another election, I'm down to not run for president at all. I will stay out of it completely, but that's only if Justin Trudeau can run for president, because I'd probably end up endorsing him. So that's my response. It sounded like there were a lot of empty words that Joe Biden was speaking that were written by someone else. It sounds like some people were trying to use Barack Obama style, and I think that it was nice. Like, it was actually a nice speech. I'm sure they worked very hard on it, but you're not defending democracy if you're making sure that a presidential candidate's censored, and you're not defending the Constitution if you're not fighting for free speech and for legal elections or legal trials. I mean, because I'm in a legal trial situation right now, and no one's fighting to stop it. So our democracy's in trouble, and in my opinion, the only people that can save us are the people from Department of Homeland Security. I hear you guys are pretty pissed off right now, and you should be, because this is America is for the people. It's not for the political parties.